Hi, I'm Barbara Rimkunis, and this is your Exeter History Minute. In 1803, there arose in Exeter a case of pig napping. Local doctor Amos Windship stood accused of stealing Moses Thurston's pig. Windship refused to relinquish the pig for a number of reasons, without ever denying that he had stolen it. Although this seems like an unremarkable dispute, the origins of the issue date back to the early days of English settlement. Pigs are not native to the Americas, but they were a major part of the foodways in Europe. When the English arrived in the Exeter region, they brought their pigs with them, which created all sorts of problems. Unlike cattle, pigs are allowed to roam freely in the village and the woodlands to forage for food. This caused great disruption to the type of agriculture that had been perfected over generations by the indigenous people. Rooting pigs uprooted the planted crops that were grown in open areas. Since there had been an agreement drawn up by the Reverend John Wheelwright and Sagamore Way Hanaunawit that protected only the ground which is broken up, sometimes the English had to pay for damages done by their domesticated swine. One such dispute in 1641 required a townsman to pay 1 bushel of corn for replanting and 1 bushel of corn for each spoiled by the swine, to be paid at the time of harvest. Indeed, swine laws were some of the first laws recorded in Exeter. After a few more such incidents, this time by swine spoiling townsmen's crops, it was time to pass some regulations. At the town meeting in March of 1646, it was ordered that all swine were required to be sufficiently yoked by the first day of April next. Yokes, which prevented the pigs from rooting up planted crops, were made out of wood. They didn't look like an ox yoke like this one. They looked more like a picture frame. It prevented them from escaping through gaps in the fences. Fencing laws were all the other heavily enforced regulations in town. Henry Roby was elected as the finder to locate and restrain any unyoked swine. Back in England, he would have been called the swine reeve, although we don't seem to use that name here in Exeter. The following year, owners were required to keep their swine in sties or yards from the first week in April to the first week in November. Fines for loose or rooting swine could be quite steep. That's how much destruction they caused. By 1659, yoking the swine was no longer practiced. Yay! Instead, the more barbaric practice of wringing the pig's snout was used. The pig's snout was crimped with copper rings that were intentionally left slightly open to pinch or irritate the pig any time it attempted to root. Eventually, this was eliminated and a town pound was erected to impound any animals that were caught straying. Being able to identify one's own pig became important, even in a town as small as Exeter, where, quite frankly, everyone knew everyone else's business, including their livestock. Pigs were marked by notches and holes cut into their ears. Which brings us back to 1803, when Dr. Windship tried to claim a pig in the springtime that did not actually belong to him. Windship himself was a shady character and a very untrustworthy self-advocate. We made a History Minute specifically about him. There's quite a laundry list of poor life choices and questionable behavior. You may want to check it out. After Moses Thurston identified his own pig, Windship tried to deflect the charges with the following arguments. 1, the suit wasn't brought within the required 15 days. 2, it was not within the justice's jurisdiction because the demand is above 40 shillings. 3, the demand isn't certain where the swine was taken. 4, who can really prove it's Thurston's pig anyway? And 5, this whole case is vague, uncertain, and informal. William Parker, the Justice of the Peace, did not suffer any of these ideas with Windship. He ordered the pig returned with a heavy fine levied against Windship. He was not, it should be noted, charged with outright theft. This may have been because the pig was still very much alive at the time and was returned unharmed. Pound fees were paid by Windship. In the end, the case was settled for all but the pig, who most likely did not live to see another season happily foraging in the woods. Diva, but I'm glad I'm not a hog. For a fun time, check out our History Minute about dog laws, which was amusingly filmed during the pandemic. For anything else, check our website at www.exeterhistory.org.